Off it, everybody. Welcome back to the link. As we wind down our show, we're going to actually ramp things back up before we say goodbye. We've got Consolidated Commission on Utilities member Simon Sanchez joining us in the Zoom room. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, Sabrina. Good morning, Chris, Jason. Good morning to your wonderful audience.
Yeah,
it's a gloomy day up here.
Yeah, we wanted to bring you in because we did have Senator Clynt Ridgell on earlier talking about KEPCO, the solar farm project, and wanted to give you the opportunity to respond because he did say a lot of things about KEPCO.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't agree with Senator Ridgell on many things, but the part that concerns me is when he is inaccurate. And I didn't hear all of the interview, but I heard much of it. But let's talk about the most important piece. First off, KEPCO and Samsung, large multinational companies, they have an obligation to all the people of Guam right now to clean up the mess at the solar farm that they're building on behalf of the Guam Power Authority and its ratepayers. That solar farm is going to help us reduce our power prices. It's going to help us reduce the amount of oil that we burn, but that's not an excuse for the way they built the facility that they're building now, that they did not have, apparently, from what I heard in your earlier stories, they did not have the ponding bases. They did not complete the work that they were supposed to do when they are building the solar farm. The solar farm is very much along the way. We're hoping to get power from it by the end of the year to start reducing power bills. But it's inexcusable what happened at Marbo. And it's our expectation, I'm sure I speak on behalf of all my colleagues, that they clean it up, that they restore it to its pristine nature, and most importantly, that they mitigate that this can never happen again, not just to Marbo, but to all the neighbors in that area. There's a lot of people that live near that solar farm, and it's going to rain on Guam, and they have a 25-year contract, and we can't have this kind of environmental degradation that just occurred with the heavy rains at this site. And they're going to have to fix it up, and they can't pass it on to ratepayers. They were the lowest bidder. Everything that is involved with their ability to provide us power is already set in stone in terms, and we're talking about 8 to 10 cents a kilowatt hour. The LEAC's going to go to 17 cents, and we can make solar for 8 to 10 cents a kilowatt hour at solar farms like the one at KEPCO and the others we've built. So that's why we're doing it. And the solar farms, I'm going to guess that none of the three of you have a solar system on top of your roof. And I don't have a solar system on top of my roof. And that's for whatever personal and financial reasons that you don't have that. And so at GPA, we have an obligation to all the thousands of ratepayers, which is about 95% of our ratepayers, who don't have solar, that we want them to participate in the savings and the environmental benefits of going to solar. We're the largest producer of solar energy in Guam. We will continue to be the largest producer of solar in Guam. We're ready to hit 50% of our energy coming from renewables by 2030. We're going to hit 25% in just a few years. And we're well on our way of displacing oil and removing it and its fluctuations and its high prices and going to fixed price solar. And that's what we're doing with the solar farms that we're building. It's much cheaper than buying solar energy from someone's rooftop. Right now, Senator Ridgell would prefer that the ratepayers of GPA pay 27 cents a kilowatt hour for solar energy coming from 2,500 ratepayers, instead of us building our own solar farms at 10 to 11 cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, if you can make your own solar energy for 10 to 11 cents, why would you pay 27 cents? And so he's pretty misleading when he talks about, why did we oppose the issue with DOE? It's not because we don't want them to go solar. In fact, we're helping them now design their solar purchase agreements, their bids, because they're not good at it. But we want them to pay, we want GPA ratepayers to pay a fair price for the solar energy that they obtain from others. And if you can get it for 11 cents, why would you pay 27 cents? Yet Senator Ridgell wants the ratepayers of Guam to pay 27 cents. And the sad part about that is the solar companies on Guam, and you've heard about the no money down and all the controversy that occurred where people were very upset with these long-term leases. If you get your own solar system, you can get your money back in 5 to 7 years. So when you sign a 25-year solar agreement with a solar company, that solar company is getting its money back 4 or 5 times using the tax credits from the taxpayers of Guam and using this high-priced solar that we pay currently for solar energy when you produce it from your rooftop. He's fronting for these solar companies that are not passing on these savings to the individuals. You know, we're only getting like 2 or 3 applications a month now for solar. Where's the avalanche of ratepayers that want to go solar? Senator Ridgell doesn't even have solar on his own roofs. And so, you know, that's why we will continue to pursue these solar farms, because it's cheaper. It's cheaper than oil. And, you know, Senator Ridgell just reminds me of the days, maybe you were all too young, but when Senator Parkinson was saying the same stuff he was, how can you raise the price of oil, how can you raise the price of power when oil goes up? And it led GPA to default on a bond because he wouldn't allow rate increases. And it led the federal government to create a federal law to bail out GPA and create an independent PUC to oversee rates so that senators like Ridgell or Parkinson don't do to the ratepayers what happened in the 80s and 90s with the load shedding blues and the inability of GPA to solve problems. And so, you know, that's where, you know, we're just going to disagree with Senator Ridgell and his whole characterization. GPA is moving towards renewable energy faster than anybody. And we're going to hold our contractor next door to us. I'm up here at Fidian. Our contractor, KEPCO and Samsung, we're going to hold them accountable for the environmental damage that they created. They have to fix it. And they have to fix it at their own cost. And they won't be able to turn on their solar farm until they make EPA happy, US EPA happy, DPW happy. And if they don't turn on that solar farm, we don't pay them. So they have every incentive to fix the mess that they created on Marbo, and we're all watching how they're going to address it. This is why we go to public-private partnerships. We've pushed the risk onto our private partners, but we must hold them responsible and accountable. And what happened with the way they constructed the solar farm is unacceptable, and they're going to have to fix it. But I just wish Senator Ridgell would work with us together. I mean, when he says KEPCO blew up Cabbage 3 and 4, where's his proof? He has no proof of that. We got $120 million in insurance proceeds. If the insurance companies thought someone was at fault, they wouldn't have paid us and they would have gone after somebody. And they haven't. So he's got, you know, just because they happen to be running a generator that was built 30 or 40 years ago, and they're the last ones to show up and run it, doesn't mean that they were responsible for that explosion. And it's irresponsible for him to accuse him of that when he asked him for the proof. And he can't find any, right? And the blessing is we ended up getting money for generators we were going to retire anyway, and we're using that $120 million to reduce the cost of the new generator that we're building. And the combination of the new generator and the solar farms we're building will allow us to eliminate 1 million barrels of fuel a year. That's $70 million in today's prices. And that's how you reduce power bills responsibly. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's just unfortunate that Senator Ridgell wants, I mean, for him to suggest that the PUC and GPA should ignore rising fuel prices, I mean, that's just ridiculous. He's not ignorant, but that's got to be the dumbest thing I've heard. And it reminds me of the days when Senator Parkinson says, don't raise power bills, even though the cost of oil has gone up. Our job is to stop using so much oil, and that's why we're building the solar farms, and that's why we're building the new generator in Dedito, to eliminate 1 million barrels a year of oil that we're burning today and to save ratepayers $70 million. If he's got a better solution, I invite him to come join us, but rather than just to attack us. But please don't misrepresent the truth. KEPCO is not responsible for that explosion. And he needs to acknowledge that the tax subsidies from the tax credits that are available to folks that put solar on their roof and the subsidies from GPA ratepayers who he wants to pay 27 cents a kilowatt hour when we can make 11 cents, we can make it for much less at 11 cents. He wants GPA ratepayers to still spend that money on rooftop solar. And rooftop solar at the rate that it's being put on rooftops, 5, 6 a month, it's going to be 500 years before we get them on all the rooftops. And you can't put rooftop solar on a hotel. It's not going to give them enough power. So he's just being unrealistic or ignorant. He's not an engineer. And he's ignoring the expertise of longtime experts at the Guam Power Authority, homegrown experts like you and me. They live here, they raise their kids here. They are just as motivated to reduce the power bill as anybody else. And they've got a plan now that will get us to 50% renewables by 2030. Speaker Ben Pangilinan and I worked on a bill in 2008. He wanted us to get to 25% by 2035. We're going to double that 5 years early. That's when you rely on professionals who know what they're doing with the power system to do it responsibly and reliably, and not politicians who want to ignore the rising cost of fuel, who want to pay more for solar energy off of rooftops when we can make it cheaper, and just raise the price of power to ratepayers. And that's where we disagree with Senator Ridgell. And the irony of this, he doesn't even have a solar system on his own house. So here he is yelling at GPA for putting up solar and yelling that it wants GPA ratepayers to overpay for solar when we can make it cheaper ourselves. And that's just irresponsible and too expensive for ratepayers. And I just wish he would listen to the experts. He's been in office 3 years. He has no background in power, no background in infrastructure, and yet now he's an instant expert. And what he's proposing would be worse for the people of Guam, would be more expensive for the people of Guam, and it shows how little he knows about generating power in an isolated grid and bringing on renewables in a responsible way and lowering our carbon footprint and burning less fuel, less oil. And that's what's going to save power bills for our people. And that's what GPA is doing. And we just ask, you can disagree with us, but get out of the way. We're going to lower the cost of power for ratepayers. We're going to hold our contractor in Marble responsible, and any contractor, even the new generator in Dededo.
We had a comment.
Meet all the requirements.
In here, Rosemary comments in, wasn't your agency also responsible to inspect their work regularly? Talking about the solar farm, was there any responsibility on the part of GPA to kind of go up there and look around and make sure everything was on the up and up?
I mean, there's general responsibility to observe how the contractor's progressing, but ultimately the construction permit was given to Samsung and KEPCO, and they're responsible to the community, to Public Works, to DEPA, to US EPA. We're not here to watch them build it. This is a public-private partnership in which we expect the private sector to follow the rules. And we're not there to watch them. We're there to hold them accountable for their outcomes. And they need to clean that up. And believe me, I heard your earlier interviews. It sounds like the rest of the government of Guam is following up. US EPA is going to be on their case. But they're the responsible party. That's the logic of public-private partnerships. You shift the risk to the private sector because they can do things faster than government and cheaper. The result is a bid for 8 to 10 cents a kilowatt hour from the private sector. But while they construct that solution, they need to follow all the requirements. And there are other government agencies besides GPA that need to hold them accountable to their construction permit, to their environmental permits. It's a group effort to do that. And GPA, we're not happy. There's no question about that. We're very unhappy with what's going on. And we're going to expect them to meet all the requirements. But when it comes to enforcement, the best enforcers are going to be DPW and Guam EPA and US EPA, and we'll support whatever they do, but the burden is all on that private contractor, Samsung and KEPCO. They're large companies, they produce power for people around the world, and they have to fix the problem that they've created. While doing a good thing for the people of Guam on one hand, it can't be at the expense of the environment, and they messed up, and they need to fix it.
Thank you, Simon.
All right, thanks for the time. You guys have a great show, and any other questions? And Senator Ridgell, please work with us. We can do far more together than just casting aspersions at each other, and be accurate. Some of the stuff you're saying is totally inaccurate, or at least provide proof. If you knew KEPCO blew up the generators, show Sabrina and KUAM the proof, because I know we can't. And if he thinks we should pay more for solar energy by buying it from solar rooftops when we can make it for less than half the price, why would you want ratepayers to pay more for solar than they have to? Doesn't make sense to us.
Thank you, Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you.
There you go. CCU member Simon Sanchez, in response to GPA oversight, Senator Clynt Ridgell's comments this morning. Very fiery comments on both sides. I like it. I love it, actually.
I'm just glad to get, both sides.
Of course. Yeah, it's good. It's 10:03 Tuesday, August 3rd. Guys, it's been a great show.
Okay.
But we're not done yet.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of DMs and everything. People are asking, when is the Simone Biles balance beam performance?